So it is time for a podcast you cannot refuse. And I say that because I'm sitting here with the self-proclaimed podfather himself, Alec Rout. He's back, ready to go. Dustin will join us a little later. Sounds like he had a rough football practice, so he will be here at some point. I don't know when. Good show today. I'm excited for it. We're going to talk about the New England game that was uber stressful. We're going to talk about the little trip across the pond to London. And then we got a top 5 list segment that I'm very excited for as well. If you want more content like that or want to follow more of us, subscribe on YouTube. You know what would really help? Go on your Apple and Spotify, subscribe, of course. Rate us, review us. We could use the feedback, and rating and reviewing bumps up our viewership. So that also helps. So make sure you are doing that as a giant thank you or giant thing for us. So thank you if you do that. Follow us on all the socials. Let's just get into it. I guess we'll start with news and notes.
News and notes from the league.
All right, so I want to start because we did not record. We recorded last Wednesday, so we have not talked about this, and I haven't talked to you about this either, or Dustin for that matter. We got to talk about the Tua thing. I look, my girlfriend, I love her to death. She walked into the room as Tua was on the ground and his fingers were. It was awful to watch. She turned the corner and said, "Why does anyone play football?" And it's a great question because it was horrific. I could get on a soapbox about this, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a terrible reality of the sport, and hopefully as we continue to evolve and equipment gets better, and maybe those guardians are started to be built into the helmets and not make them look so much like doofuses. Hopefully, those kinds of things can help to slow down the injuries. There's also a lot to be said about how turf can actually increase concussions, among other injuries. But because turf doesn't have as much natural give as what grass does, when a head bangs on the turf, it's more likely to give a concussion than if it were on natural grass. So I think that continuing to progress the protective equipment and figuring out ways to get grass fields implemented across the league, even in domes and such, I think that doing that will eliminate some of the risk, but I also think that some of that risk will always be there. And unfortunately, it is, part of what a lot of people are drawn to, not the injuries themselves, but the violent nature of the game. People love to see people ram into each other like that. They love to see the big hits. You can go on YouTube right now and look up big hit compilation videos, and you'll see, a 15-minute long video of just concussion after concussion after concussion, and that video will have millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes, and so it is sad. It's a sad reality. I hope that in the future we'll be able to evolve past, risks like that. And I think that the Dolphins made a good step towards that by firing the independent neurologist that approved Tua's ability to play in that game. I would pass the mic over to Dustin. However, Dustin is not here today. He's not here because he was trying to catch up on Jackson Mahomes' TikTok. He hasn't. He's
Problematic.
he hasn't been up to date lately, so he wanted to quick scan through that. He said it might take him about a half hour. So go ahead, Alex.
He'll be here at some point. So this is where, in the moment, as I don't know your concussion history. In my lifetime, I've had 5 or 6. None of them were that severe, but the last one, I was in a softball tournament. Ball took a bad hop, and it hit me like right in the temple. And I mean, look, any of us probably have had a number of concussions and we don't even know it. The last one scared me quite a bit. Doctor said if it was over like an inch, it could have killed me. which it's just crazy to think. And then you see Tua. We all saw it last Sunday. Now, granted, me playing in a local softball tournament versus Tua, I want to make sure. I mean, this is apples and oranges, but clearly Sunday, he stood up, collapsed, needed help to get back to the huddle. They pull him, and they're like, "You know what? No, you're good." And the reports are he passed all the concussion tests. He sure as hell didn't pass the eye test. It's just, It was something. It was the first time in my lifetime where I felt disgusted by football because it's never really anything. You're right. This is the gladiator sport. The Romans would kill each other in the ring. Football, you can make an argument. People that play football typically die younger, and there's all these terrible, terrible things. And it's really, it was tough for me to digest watching because it's like, oh, someone gets concussion and we just kind of, okay, whatever, they'll go to the blue tent. Oh, darn. Like Adrian Amos, for example, kind of got up, but he was pretty stable. But you could tell something was wrong. I thought it was a shoulder injury, but he got up, went to the tent, and then out for the game. Okay, that sucks. But then you remember when you see something like the Tua hit, and it's just absolutely horrifying. And the reason I brought up my girlfriend earlier, for her to say, "Oh my God, why would anyone want to play football?" That's from somebody that doesn't watch and doesn't care. She's just like, "Yeah, my kids will never play football." And if you watch if you're just a casual viewer, you have to be thinking the same thing. Now, the NFL, to their credit, when stuff like this happens, they typically fix it. It might take a while and it may take a lot of public pressure, but they typically change things. But it was absolutely horrifying, and I'm glad he's home, and it sounds like he was on the plane and was okay, and they watched MacGruber, which is a weird detail to throw in there. Also, who picked the movie? I love MacGruber, just an odd film to watch on a flight, but anyway.
Yeah,
that was the one thing. I probably got hung up that on more than I should have, but that's where we are. But anyway, yeah, it was tough to watch, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Tua rule coming. I saw something on Twitter. I don't know if it was fake or real, but basically, if someone stands up and they are not deemed stable, they're out of the game for the rest of the game, no matter what. So it seems there are changes on the horizon. There's an investigation, but yeah, I think it was important to at least touch on that. Since we recorded last Wednesday, that also happened. But yeah, it sounds like things are going to get changed. It sounds like he's doing okay. That was really the only thing. Well, we should touch on this first. So I don't know if you saw this or not. Aaron Rodgers went on Pat McAfee's show yesterday, as he always does every Tuesday. And there was a weird, well, it's not necessarily weird. If you want the backstory, he was asked a question about Odell Beckham Jr. because Odell Beckham Jr. was watching the game Sunday and basically said Aaron Rodgers is fire emoji. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But obviously there's a little smoke there. There was smoke last fall, right around Thanksgiving, that he was going to sign. He ended up signing with the Rams. But now Aaron Rodgers, he didn't come out and start recruiting, but he was damn close to it. So just the Podfather's thoughts on yet another go-round of OBJ rumors.
Listen, Alex, I am ready to get hurt again. I know he's not going to sign with us. There's not a chance.
No.
This happens every season, it seems like, where a big name free agent comes out and says, "I'd love to play with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers, that'd be a great organization." Da, 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 da. And then, lo and behold, they're using us as leverage so that they can sign with somebody else.
Yep.
Mark my words, he's going to be a Buffalo Bill. He's going to the Bills. That is where he'll end up.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm right there with you. And I guess this kind of, well, I don't want to step on my game analysis when we get there in the next segment, but yeah, I mean, well, who wouldn't want to play with Odell Beckham? But the question is he going to be healthy? He's not going to be back for at least another month and a half. And if you bring him into Green Bay, they could use him, certainly. And we could talk about that in a little bit, but I just don't he's going to have his pick of the litter. He's got coming off his fourth knee surgery in the last 5 years, major knee surgery. Mm-hmm. I don't know fit wise how that would work. Obviously it sounds dumb, but I mean, Randall Cobb has got more, and I'm not saying, oh, hello, Baxter. let's just close that door while I'm in the middle of talking. That's my dog, for those that don't know. And I totally lost my thought. Thanks, Baxter. No, I just fit wise. I know to say, well, why wouldn't you just ditch Randall Cobb for Odell Beckham Jr.? At this point, is there that much of a difference? Because it's going to take him a while to acclimate.
And what I would say to that is I think that he would be able to acclimate pretty quickly just because of how our offense looks this year. You know, it seems like we are utilizing the short passes, the quick hitting throws behind the line of scrimmage a lot more recently. And to be honest, I mean, yes, Odell can stretch the field. Yes, he can go up and get, you know, fades and things like that, but he's strongest in the slant game. He's
Yep.
strongest in quick hitting passes. So I think he'd be a great fit. I think that he'd get acclimated pretty quickly. His health is what concerns me, especially with that being his strength. You know, the run after catch kind of plays. He's going to be taking a lot of hits. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So no matter what, I do think he'd be a great fit, but I am very concerned about his health. Maybe if we could bring him in, you know, week week 16 or 17 and then have him along for the ride to the playoffs. I mean, it could be a possibility because I do think that he could get accustomed to the system in, you know, as little as 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but I don't know. That's where I'm at on it.
Well, and look, obviously, I would love. They need weapons at this point. I think, and again, we'll get to that in a minute. They need weapons at this point, reliable ones. Obviously, we know he's capable. He was going to be the Super Bowl MVP before he got hurt. I mean, he was dominating that game. But he signed in November. It took him until February to start looking like himself again. It took him a long time. So I just look, we got to acknowledge them because they're not going away. They'll probably come back, especially once he's cleared to go and you see the YouTube videos and Instagram and TikTok and you see him running all these routes and it's like, oh, no, Beckham looks pretty good. They're not going away anytime soon. Green Bay has an obvious need there. It's natural. It's a natural fit. So they're just going to be here. But I'm Team Odell Beckham. If you can bring in a weapon, granted, 75% of him is probably better than their fifth option right now. I don't even know who their fifth option would be because right now they got four dudes, and that's about it. But I guess I'll play the imaging and we'll just get into it because there's a lot to say about what we witnessed this last Sunday.
What just happened?
Time to roll back the tape. Here's this week's Game Rewind.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready.
All right, so the aforementioned game, Green Bay wins a very stressful game in overtime against New England at home. Green Bay wins on a walk-off field goal by Mason Crosby. Look, I'll say it. I texted our group chat or our podcast chat. I thought it was over. First of all, that game should have never went to overtime. There was a delay of game that shouldn't have been a touchdown, but fine, whatever. You know what? There's 3 or 4 plays like that every NFL game, whatever. You still can't just stop. Everyone just stopped. And therefore, Devontae Parker wide open for a touchdown. Okay, fine. But I texted the group chat. They punted in overtime, so I'm thinking, okay, well, now all New England needs is a field goal, so that's trouble. Mm-hmm. And then they got a big punt return, and I'm thinking, oh, my God. And I said it out loud to myself, and I texted the chat. The Packers just lost to Bailey Zappi at home. Now, Green Bay finally decided at the very end to load the box because Bailey Zappi was not capable of beating them. It's just, I got a lot to say, but I'll let you start. I'll let you start the conversation because I got a lot of thoughts. They're all coming up. I'm just vomiting takes at this point.
All right. So, number one, the Packer offense looked terrible in the first half, but credit to LaFleur in a fashion that kind of disputes my argument last week about how we can't adjust ever. We came out in the second half, and Rodgers looked great. The offense was humming. I saw a lot of passion out of Rodgers. 2 F-bombs dropped. Did you see both of them? You know,
one of them I heard. It was like, yeah. Romo tried to play it off, but he did a bad job. We all heard it.
There was another one where DeGora was he motioned to the wrong side of the line, and Rodgers, you could audibly hear him say, "Get your over there." And that was pretty awesome. But anyway, their offense really picked up in the second half, and I credit that to LaFleur finally being able to adjust his game plan. I do think that if Romeo Dobbs, I think that if this is week 10, Dobbs catches that touchdown in the end zone, puts us at 34. And I also think that, like you said, that delay of game would have wiped away that touchdown. Realistically, we're looking at a 34-17 game. That's not what happened, though, right? So that's not how we can play. We can't play the what if game. But on that note, I think the offense looked pretty good against a Bill Belichick defense that's always going to give you trouble. The defense only let up 24, which isn't great,
Well,
especially
no, they only gave up
considering that you're
17. Rodgers gave up that
yeah.
the pick six.
Yeah, that's true. Defense did only let up 17, and 7 of that was on that delay of game. But I digress. Either way, 17 points against a backup quarter or third string quarterback, you don't really expect that. And I don't put that on our defense. I put that on Joe Barry. I'm not I'm not all in on Joe Barry. I think that he has a lot of flaws. He I think that he abandoned his game plan that was working so well. We were getting sacks, we were getting loads of pressure, we were forcing bad throws, and then as soon as they begin being more pass heavy and more aggressive, we drop back into more soft coverages to just try and avoid touchdowns. That doesn't work, especially with the studs that we have. We have aggressive players. They need to be flying to the ball. So all in all, I think it could have been a lot worse. I think that people are freaking out about this game. Oh, it was a third string quarterback. We went to overtime. Okay, how about we scored 27 points on a Bill Belichick defense? We could have had another touchdown there if Dobbs was a little bit more seasoned. You know, I yeah, a lot of people are going to be a lot more upset with this, but I take it as an okay win. I'm not super happy. I'm not disappointed. Very even keeled win.
It's I agree with everything you said. They've won 3 in a row after that Minnesota game. I mean, but the problem is they're not wow wins. The Bears, whatever. When Green Bay wanted to stop the run, they did. There was one drive that they clearly were like, whatever, and they gave up, 80 yards rushing or whatever it was, 100 yards rushing on that one drive, so it looks a lot worse. The Tampa game, they come out like gangbusters, fumble twice, and after that, it was kind of it. This game, I'm with you. The first half, look, I know he's a Hall of Famer. I appreciate everything he's done for this team, in community, and all that fun stuff, blah, blah, blah. But Aaron Rodgers looked horrendous. Now, he's gotten off to slow starts historically for the last, 6, 7 years. That's not uncommon. I'm fine with that. But the out route, it was late and it was inside. The two things everybody knows, including him. That ball can't be there. And a rookie then picks it and takes it to the house. It's just, he hasn't looked like himself, and I know he's still trying to work to trust these rookies, but obviously he trusts Dobbs because Dobbs was, once again, leading target getter, leading catch getter, and he leads the team in targets for the season. And I believe I saw a stat online. He's on pace to basically double and triple the numbers of, like, say, Jordy Nelson in his rookie year, or Cobb in his rookie year, or Adams in his rookie year. He's going to crush all those numbers. But between Rodgers playing bad, the Packers have fumbled in every game so far. Romeo Dobbs I think he's talented. He reminds me of, now granted, I wasn't around for Robert Brooks, but I get a lot of Robert Brooks vibes from him. I'm not saying Pro Bowl or anything, but really, really good. But anytime someone swipes the ball, it comes out. He had a play. It was just a little bubble screen, if you even want to call it that. Rodgers basically just turned and threw it to him, and he picked up 8 yards, but the corner swiped the ball, and he almost put it on the ground again. And he fumbled last week, and he fumbled this week. he's got to get strong with the ball, because even that catch at the end of the game, that wasn't a catch, but whatever. No one really knows what the catch is in football anymore, I guess. He had it. Got to complete the catch. He fell on his face, and his arm got stuck in the ground. Well, then the ball popped out. It just, there's little stuff I know he'll learn. For instance, instead of landing right on your face, just turn your body a little bit and cradle the ball, and it's fine. And obviously, a lot easier said than done, but it's just little things. He's a rookie. All rookies generally suck. We're pretty lucky because Dobbs is pretty darn good. Christian Watson flashed in this game a little bit. They're finding ways to get him the ball, and he's quick, he's explosive. Cool. The receiver part of it, well, we got a little work to do yet. His routes and his tracking the ball and stuff worry me a little bit. But again, some of that's on Aaron Rodgers too. So that offensively, you can see flashes. While it wasn't always pretty and very annoying to watch at times, you can see it. And I think as long as the arrow's going up, I'm okay there. I do want to touch on something you said defensively. Why are they scared of Bailey Zappi? There's no shot he got any reps that past week. But you're so right. They were playing soft. It was crazy. They're just like, okay, we'll just hand the ball off. That's all they can do. That was the game plan. Ramondre and Damian Harris both. That's it. They barely have NFL skill weapons. They got Aguilar, Hunter Henry, and then what? And so those are their two main weapons, right? The guy who's throwing the ball was a third-string quarterback last week. It blows my mind that they were playing so soft. And then, lo and behold, oh, hey, overtime in the last drive, let's load the box. Make Zappi beat us. Oh, wow, it worked. It's just, I get it. They have, and LaFleur keeps saying it. Well, it's not necessarily the game plan. It's guys not getting off blocks and stuff. And, okay, fine. I watched, the little YouTube highlight thing after the game. He's right. There are a couple things. Devondre Campbell wasn't getting off blocks that last year he would have. It's just, I get it. And the execution's not quite there yet. Fine. It's just, the defense leaves. I think the part of the reason is the defense is actually playing decently. I think just the expectations were ratcheted up to such a level where I don't think they can get there. They're just not there right now. And I think people are mad because look, and some of it is on Joe Barry. I don't like some of the play calling. I know nothing about defense. Don't get me wrong. But, it's 3rd and 2, and they're playing off coverage. No, go press the guy. They have to get 2 yards. If you press him, there's a better chance that the play's going to die. It's just.
Not only that, I mean, it seems that we refuse to play man coverage. It seems like he will not do man coverage. It's terrifying because we have some of the best secondary. I mean, our top 3 corners and top 2 safeties, you won't find a secondary with more talent between those 5 guys than we have. We also have probably the best coverage linebacker in Devondre Campbell in the league. I mean, that's 6 coverage guys that if we were to go one-on-one, our guy versus your guy, we're probably winning that battle. We need to start running some more man coverage.
Yeah, and they keep arguing, well, we're a zone team. We're built to play zone. Fine, but can you mix up your looks and be a little more creative, please? Because guess what? When you did that to Brady, shut him down until the last drive. You played soft again, and they went right down the field. But when you're creative, you're aggressive, you're using these athletes that you have, it looks more like what we expect. Because you're right. I believe in pass coverage DVOA or some crazy pass stat. In all of them, they're top 5. Their pass defense is fantastic. I mean, you wouldn't know it because of how soft they play, but their pass defense is really, really good. Well, they can't stop the run. Dustin's not here yet. I was going to wait for him, but I don't know when he's going to pop on. Maybe we'll do this at the end with him. But this kind of leads into where I wanted to go. They had 2 first-rounders this year, right? They got one for Adams. So they got the 22nd pick, Quay Walker. No complaints. Look, he's a rookie. He's still figuring out. But I get it. He flies around. He's a good tackler. I get it. Devontae Wyatt went 28th overall. So that was the pick they had. He can't see the field. For a team that cannot stop the run, it is a huge indictment of that draft pick if the guy you picked to help stop the run can't even sniff the field. I saw him on the field for one play this past game. I was like, oh yeah, Devontae Wyatt's on this team. Like, he's non-existent. So you pick two players to stack your box with to help stop the run. And Quay's been pretty good. He's more of a side-to-side guy, I've noticed. Downhill, or maybe I have that backwards. Downhill, he's really good. Side-to-side. No, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. Side-to-side, he's really good. Downhill leaves some room to be desired, but again, he's young. But Devontae Wyatt, man, that is a draft bust, which leads us to this week's edition of Top 5 Lists, and I have one for you at home. Alec, I want to start with you, unless you want me to go first for time to research. But top 5 Packers draft bust. I don't have him on this list, but Devontae Wyatt, definitely OLI. I don't know if he'll get better. I'm hoping he does. He's a bit of an older for a rookie, but he's definitely in the conversation for sure because they need him to stop the run, and he can't even sniff the field. So he's on my OLI. But your top 5 Packer draft busts, do you have them already and available?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
I'll go number 5. I'm gonna go with that boy Quentin Rollins. I think that out of college, he looked like a really good player. I really liked him. I thought that he was going to make a huge difference, and it just seemed like, he never quite got it. He never really bought in. Maybe he just didn't have the skill set to play at the next level. I'm not really sure what it was, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it work. Number 4 on the list, I'm going to go with Alex Green.
That's a name right there.
Yeah, it's too bad. I really thought that we saw some great flashes out of this kid. Back in the heyday, kids nowadays they're spoiled with their AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones combo. We would have killed for half of one of those guys back in my day, man. I remember a game where John Kuhn was our starting halfback because our original starter, James Starks, was out and we didn't have anyone else to fill the shoes. But yeah, Alex, he looked pretty good. He looked promising in the preseason and then eventually fizzled out as a lot of Packers running backs did.
Yep.
Number 3, I'm going to go with Ty Montgomery. Man, Ty. How the ties turned on Ty Montgomery. He came into the league trying to play wide receiver. He was fast enough. He wasn't quite big enough. We tried to move him over to running back. He had some success. And by that, I mean, again, this was back in my day of no running backs. He was probably averaging like 2.8 yards a carry. And we're like, yeah, like that's sufficient, So, yeah.
It was like we were in the desert just looking for a drop of water. It's like, oh, finally, somebody. But it was like, is it really? Also, can I just say, Ty Montgomery, I guess he really hasn't stuck anywhere else. I don't know if they ever used him right. That was so I'm looking it up quick. I believe, yes, they drafted him in 2015. So this is like the start of the downfall of McCarthy in Green Bay. And look, I'm not saying he was going to be a world beater or anything, and not a Pro Bowler, All Pro, nothing like that. I just think he was a useful piece that they didn't really ever know what to do with. They tried him on kick returns. Okay, nothing special. Running back, he was better than receiver, but I feel like they never used him right. I don't necessarily blame him all for him being a bust. And I don't know that he is a bust. He's still in the league. Obviously for us, he was a bust because he's no longer here. And that was only 7 years ago. So, yeah, but I get it, though.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep this list moving, this list train moving. I'm going to go number 2. This one might surprise some people that I would put him as a bust. I'm going to go with Eddie Lacy. Listen, Eddie Lacy, for what he was when he was, he was the saving grace. He was the first good running back. Hey, look, we have light.
I was gonna
He
say,
was the
you know.
yeah, I apologize there for anybody who might have gotten spooked out by my non-existing face there. But uh Eddie Lacy, I loved watching him play. He had a tremendous rookie year. He he had a really good second year as well, and then he got that's it. Yeah, he did. The guy just really liked Chinese food, cheese, and beer. And Green Bay, Wisconsin has an abundance of Chinese restaurants, an abundance of cheese curds, and God, do they have beer.
Hell
So, unfortunately, Eddie makes the list. I wish he could have kept that career going a little longer, but unfortunately, just wasn't the case.
Oh, hold on a minute. We have breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story,
Breaking news.
and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen right now!
Joining the stream 36 minutes after we started due to football practice and maybe breaking his leg. Joining us, as always, our lovable oaf of an offensive lineman, Justin Burgundy. Welcome to the stream.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay. I apologize. Unforeseen circumstances happened at practice today. We have literally 10 minutes left to practice. Okay, 10 minutes. We're almost done. I'm like, kind of cruising, getting done with practice. We do one-on-ones with pass setting, and all of a sudden the guy beats me, whatever. I'm kind of jogging behind him. My cleat catches his foot just right as I'm stepping down, and ankle rolls over. I hear a crunch. I'm like, yeah, that's not good. So she's pretty swollen. Would you guys like to see?
I mean, for the audio audience, they're not going to see, but we'll do play-by-play at home. Show the lovely people.
I don't think I can
Is-
flip my camera here, but
Is
can
this
y'all
similar-
see that at all?
Well, the people that are in
boy.
the feed on the internet are really going to get a kick out of this.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all can see that. Yeah, she's
This remind
Yeah, she's a little swollen.
yeah,
this
she hurts
reminds-
a little bit.
that reminds me of the Aaron Rodgers COVID toe thing.
Oh yeah.
You got the
Problematic.
No, I don't have the COVID though. Just some pain and gonna be some ibuprofen and painkillers throughout the next couple days.
Oof,
Yeah.
man.
So just to catch you up, we'll let Alec finish his list. We're currently in a top 5 list battle.
Okay, perfect time.
Top 5 draft busts, and the origin of this was because I'm questioning the merits of the Devontae Wyatt pick now because they need him to stop the run and he can't even get on the field. Giant red flag. So is he a draft bust? Maybe. It's still early. It's 4 games. You never know. He's trending that way, which obviously sucks. But anyway, you get the idea. So Alec was currently telling us his number 2, which is Eddie Lacy, who we all know. Yeah. So that's where we left that. I believe you were getting to your number 1 here.
Yeah, let me give Dusty the quick recap. I'm gonna go 5, Quentin Rollins. 4 was Alex Jones, or not Alex Jones.
Alex Green. Alex Jones, that's
Alex
different.
Green.
I was like, let's skip right on over him.
Problematic.
Yeah, no. 5 Quentin Rollins, 4 Alex Green, 3 was shoot. Who did I have at 3? Alex.
It was
Oh.
Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, Ty Montgomery. 2 was Eddie Lacy, and now finally for number 1, you all know who I'm gonna say. It was Josh Jackson, number 1. Man, that guy just absolutely stunk from his piss poor attitude to becoming a meme on this show. Josh Jackson is the number 1 Packers bust of all time. I don't even want to look at him. Let's not even go into it. I can't handle it. Okay, my ticker might start not ticking anymore if we talk too much about JJ.
So I'm going to give my list now so Dustin can think of his top 5. Outside looking in, 2017, their first Actually, their 2017 draft is pretty terrible outside of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. But I will say honorable mention to Kevin King and Josh Jones. Those two, when they drafted him, I'm like, okay, let's go. And Josh Jones, I was super high on. That never panned out. I did see his name. He's still in the league. He's still playing for somebody. I think it's either the Patriots or the Giants. Hold on, I'm looking. He is currently playing for, I'm sorry, not even close. He's playing for Seattle. I didn't even know he was still in the league, but that was a surprise. Kevin King, currently a free agent as well. Then they drafted Vince Beagle out of Wisconsin. I mean, their entire 2017 sucked. But my number 5 here, we are going to start with Dayton Jones. Yeah. This list is going to be heavy. Dayton Jones, I remember John Gruden drooling over this kid in the draft. We were all like, oh, I don't know who he is, but UCLA, cool. Let's go. Just never panned out. I don't even know if he recorded a professional sack. He was awful. And it just never panned out. And they really needed a defensive end. Wasn't Dayton Jones, let me tell you that. Number 4, this one hurts because I was really excited when they drafted him. But number 4 is 2014 first-round pick. Clinton Dix. And because that pick ended up being a joke. His attitude and work ethic really took a nosedive after year 1. We traded him to Washington for a bag of peanuts. And he's out of the league now. He can't find a job. It just never worked out. And unfortunately, that draft could have had the potential to be a really good draft if he would have panned out because it was the same draft as Devontae Adams, Corey Linsley. I mean, that's 2 all-pros right there. Jared Abbrederis was one of my favorites. I thought he was fine when he played. He just was never healthy. So anyway, that Clinton Dix comes in at 4. Oh, this one near and dear to my heart. This was about the first draft I remember really paying attention to and caring about as a kid. 16th overall pick in 2007, defensive tackle out of Tennessee, Justin Harrell. That draft class wasn't terrible. It came with Brandon Jackson, James Jones, Corey Hall, Desmond Bishop, Mason Crosby. There were some dudes there. So that's a decent draft class. But they started with Justin Harrell. I remember as a kid knowing that sucked. And I didn't know anything about football at that point. Enough said. Justin Harrell, number 3. Number 2, offensive tackle extraordinaire, Derek Sherrod. Again, needed an offensive tackle. We needed someone at the left side. And did he even start? If he did, it was in a pinch. He was terrible. He barely sniffed the field in preseason. Derek Sherrod is clearly number 2, but no one will top my number 1. My number 1, the entire 2015 draft class. I am going to read these names off one by one, and we are going to sit in the filth that is the 2015 draft class. It starts first pick. So 30th pick, first round, Demarius Randall. Okay, that's where we start. Second pick, the aforementioned Quentin Rollins, as Alec pointed out. Look, fine, whatever. He was a basketball player, was an athlete, took a shot, didn't work out. Whatever, it happens. Number 3, Ty Montgomery. He was serviceable for a while, and then things went sour, whatever. Jake Ryan out of Michigan in the 4th round. Okay. Then Brett Hundley in the 5th. We all know that didn't turn out. Aaron Ripkowski, who had a moment. I think he was a starting running back in the playoff game against Atlanta in 2016.
Man, I miss those fullbacks starting at running back games.
I do not. I am so happy with that. And then we rounded out with Christian Ringo and Kennard Backman. That's the 2015 draft class. And may I just say, woof. That's awful. Actually, that was the wrong sounder. But that was just woof. Just dogs. They were terrible. The entire 2015 draft class is my number 1. Dustin, your top 5 draft bust.
Quick things. Is this all time? Is this all time we're talking about?
All time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I scrolled.
You guys missed a huge one. Like
Packers only.
Yeah, it's Packers. It's Packers. This is easily number 1, and like it should have been across the board. When I
Okay.
get to it, you guys will be like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Okay. When I get to it,
I'm quick rolling through here.
you missed it. It's a big one.
Would it be 2000's first round pick? They took Bubba
No.
Franks 14th overall.
No.
Hey,
Oh,
we're not
Bubba-
going to slander Bubba Franks.
Holy-
Okay, Alex?
let's
We're a
pump the
pro
brakes.
Bubba Franks podcast.
I'm not anti Bubba Franks, but you took him 14th overall.
Yeah, okay. I heard you talking about Bubba before the podcast. You're out for blood.
I have no problem with Bubba Franks. He seems like a nice guy. Just 14th overall. I never knew that until I just looked. That's absurd. Anyway, your top 5 list, Dustin.
All right, number 5. This is a little controversial, but I'd say Nick Perry at number 5.
He was OLI.
Yeah, he had a couple of years. You know, I will give him that. But like, I mean, honestly, he was pretty underwhelming his whole career for a first-round pick, number 28. Like, you'd expect, you know, those years to kind of continue, at least consistent. Like, he was just, it was big waves with him. You know, you just didn't know what you were going to get every game. You're going to get a monster game or absolutely nothing. So I give him. That's why I give him number 5. To be fair, number 4. I'll give the Ha Clinton Dix. I think you guys kind of hit it again. He just wasn't good. Like, he just wasn't. Remember when we were talking like he was the best safety in the league? Then we started seeing some film and we're like, this guy's terrible. Like, this guy's awful.
Yeah.
Damn it, Chris.
Oh, do I play spoiler? Oh,
Damn it.
you're right. We did miss that one.
Damn it, Chris.
Mandarich.
Spoiler alert.
Damn
Well,
it. All
we'll
right.
keep going with your list. We'll pretend
All
we
right.
didn't see that.
So number 3, I will put. Oh shoot, who's my number 3 again? I'm sorry, I'm kind of blanking here again. Oh, I'll put Kevin King. Yeah, I mean, do I need to elaborate, or can I just say he stinks?
He had one good season. I'll give him that. He had like 7 picks one year. That was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you.
Besides that, yeah, he stunk. And then number 2 would be Derek Sherrod. Again, just like very inconsistent, just kind of wasn't good. I don't think he ever started or saw the field hardly at all, correct? On Mississippi State, I believe. Yeah, he was not good.
It's not good.
Not good. I remember them drafting him. I was excited because I'm like, oh, Derek Sherrod, like he was so good in college and everything. And then he got to the NFL, just did nothing. Kevin Kingston.
For the audio audience, Alec, we can have names here. So for the audio audience, Alec changed his name to Kevin King's dad.
God, you're a goof. And then obviously number one was spoiled. It's Tony Mandarich. I couldn't believe you guys didn't say. I thought for sure you'd have said it, Alec. I thought for sure. I was kind of waiting for it. And then I thought, Alex, you'd at least get it, but then neither of you got it. I'm like, how do we miss this one? Easily.
Go ahead.
Easily the biggest bust, even worse than Jamarcus Russell. Like, the worst bust of all time. He came out of college expected to be like the best offensive lineman of all time, like unanimous, like all pro, all this stuff. And he was just juicing. He was just juicing like crazy. And it ended up he was terrible. Like, he stopped juicing, his testosterone was all messed up. He started just getting fat and out of shape. It was just like, it was such a laughable pick. And I think the worst part was, yeah, like Chris said, we passed him with like Barry Sanders. There were some other like Hall of Fame
I think Troy
players.
Aikman was in that class, right? Yeah, Troy.
Yep. Troy Aikman was in that class. There was a couple other Hall of Famers in that class, and we passed up and we picked Tony Mandarich. That is awful.
Look, first of all, I didn't scroll back that far in the Football Reference page, so I'll admit to that. But I'm sorry, nothing is going to take the 2015 draft class, the entire class, out of my number 1 spot. That is atrocious. There is not one. I'm going to go back and look here. There is not one player. I guess Ty Montgomery's hurt, but Christian Ringo out of the league. Kennard Backman out of the league. Ripkowski out of the league. Brett Hundley, I think, just got a job due to injuries, but essentially out of the league. Jake Ryan out of the league. Ty Montgomery hurt for the Patriots, but whatever. Quentin Rollins out of the league. Demarius Randall out of the league. That's awful.
Yeah.
You
And-
can't be worse than that.
And I will say this, while Mandarich was a massive bust, I think that it changed the way that the Packers draft. We have not that I can remember, taken an offensive lineman in the early rounds. Like, I'm talking 1 or 2. We typically find our offensive lineman 3rd round or later, and we find studs for our value in those later rounds. I mean, we perennially have one of the best offensive lines in the league. You know, it's every year. So I'm while it is a terrible misjustice to Barry Sanders to have Tony Mandarich selected before him, I do think that it was probably something that needed to happen in order for us to be where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with like that pick is also I agree with you, Alec, with the whole pick. I mean, I think the only lineman we got in like the first or second round that like I thought was good was Brian Balaga, which like he had a good like 5 years, I'd say. Then he kind of fell off a little bit, but then obviously there was Derek Gerard, kind of a mess after that. But like when Manager came out of college, like how did you not know this guy was on the juice? Like just jacked at like 320 pounds. Like it's not realistic for anyone to look that way at that size. It's just not realistic. So like, how do they not say like, yeah, this is a little bit of a red flag?
I'm kicking myself because I wish I had the sound cut up of Jason Kelsey, Eagles Super Bowl parade. I don't know if anyone's seen this. And if you guys can stall, I'll try and look it up. But Jason Kelsey at the Eagles Super Bowl parade, what was that, 4 years ago now? It was trying to give this rousing speech about everyone was doubted. And I believe it was Lane Johnson. Is that right? Yeah. Lane Johnson apparently got nailed for steroids or PEDs or something. And in his speech, he said, "This guy's too small. This guy's whatever." And then he goes, "Lane Johnson can't stay off the juice." And if there was ever a time to play that sound as a sound effect, it would be right now. And I'm so mad because all I have, and that's not really fitting. And I'm so upset right now. Oh.
Man, well, I don't know. I feel like Dusty's probably kicking himself for, saying back in the day that he didn't want Antonio Brown on the team. I feel like right now Antonio Brown would really help our receiving.
Problematic.
This is bad to say, but I'd rather have Odell Beckham than Antonio Brown. Like, and that's
Hell
like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Hold on. We actually talked about this in News and Notes, so you weren't here for this. Obviously, the rumors are starting to swirl again, and I don't think they're going away anytime soon. Where do you stand? Yes to Odell Beckham or no to Odell Beckham?
I don't know. Honestly, that's tough.
Coming off an ACL injury, another knee surgery, like his fourth in 5 or 6 years or whatever the crazy number is.
But in our offensive scheme that he would thrive in now with those short passes.
Yeah, it all depends on the circumstance and like what we kind of get him for. That's my biggest thing I'd say is like what is this contract going to be that we're going to get him for? If he's going to want like 5-6 million, just tell him to take a hike. But like if you're going to want like $1 million just to play on a team, sure, why not?
Let's say 3.8 million. You sign him for 3.8 million?
No.
What do you mean? No, I'd go 3.8 mil for sure.
Here's for 1 year.
Yeah, you're paying him a lot of money.
That's punter money.
But you're giving him $3 million for what? 6 games?
Well, if we signed him right now, it'd be like 14 games. Plus
if they signed him tomorrow, it'd make more sense. But I'm guessing he's probably not going to sign until like Thanksgiving time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, if they signed him today, then okay, yeah, because you're still 3/4 of your season's ahead. So that I understand. But no, like his actual timeline, whatever that may be, no, I'm not giving him that. I'm giving him, here's the minimum. We don't even know if you're going to be able to play. Here's the minimum contract that most likely everyone's going to get you or offer to you. Take it or leave it. We got young receivers that we're working with. So it just, but we had this conversation before Dustin joined. I guess to circle back. I don't know. I feel like we need to have a segment, not the takeoff, but like we could call it corner court. And if we don't disagree, and there's 2 of us that disagree, one of us can be the moderator, and then we can have a kangaroo court session. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I believe Odell Beckham should be a Green Bay Packer. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I believe Odell Beckham should not be a Packer. That's a great segment idea. I just don't know how to do it. But anyway, Dustin, actually, since we're catching up here at the very end, do you have anything you want to say on the Packer New England Bailey Zappi experience?
Defense did not play up to par. That is for sure. I thought the D line got pushed around pretty bad by that New England O line. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think the New England offensive line is pretty solid. They're not spectacular, but they're okay. Like, they're pretty average. Which, I mean, our defense is supposed to be top 10 in the league. Like, we shouldn't be just neck and neck with a mid tier offensive line. Like, we should be dominating. And that kind of worried me, especially like it seemed like the old days where we could get a pass rush, but they did whatever they wanted in the run game. Which the problem is, if you do whatever you want in the run game, it sets up play action. You saw exactly that in the game. They ran the ball, play action. Nobody was home because they just thought it was run. So that's my biggest concern is just getting a run block stop or run and stop.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's more on the players or more on the scheme? Because as Alex and I were talking about, it seemed like as if Joe Barry, as soon as Zappi came, I'd say the second half. In the second half, instead of continuing to play aggressive, we just kind of started to sit back in more zone coverage, as Joe Barry's kind of shown, only sending 4 and then sitting back in soft zones. So do you put it all on the defensive players, or do you put any more of that blame on the coaching there?
I wouldn't even say it's like coverage wise. I'd say it's more alignment because you got to understand it. Because if they're bringing the 2 tight end sets, that's more alignment. So like if they're bringing 2 tight end sets, you're like, okay, like they're loading the box, like we need to match it. So you got to bring in that extra linebacker to fill in to help fill these holes because really it's just they're trying to stretch you out is what they're trying to do. Which you just got to load the box and hope your linebackers can make a play. That's really the biggest thing I saw was like there were maybe 2 linebackers in when they had a 7 front. Like that's just not good numbers when we're going on 6 on 7. Like that's just not. Again, like football is just a complete number game.
And that's what I'm saying is, a lot of those plays we're only sending 4 linemen, and they have, the dual tight end set. They're bringing in their receivers into a tighter bunch as well. You would think that then we would switch up our defense a little bit, maybe bring in a 5th lineman, maybe drop down another safety, stack the box a little bit just to even out those numbers a little bit. But I definitely think that we are more of a pass rush, definitely more of a pass rush team than a run stop team for sure.
Yeah. And like, sorry, you can go, Alex.
I was just going to say, and I said it earlier, so I guess I don't really have to repeat myself, but the numbers bear that out. In the pass defense categories, they're all pretty darn good. They're all top 5 in most pass defense categories. But anyway, Dustin, as you were saying.
Yeah, and tracking back a little bit, I think it's a little bit to blame on both. Like I blame Joe Barry more because really, like you should know, like New England's a running football team, like they want to run the ball. You should know that coming into the game, and you should have a good strategy and game plan leading up to that. But as well, like it's down to the players to execute that game plan, and whether they had that game plan, they just didn't execute it, or they just didn't have the game plan at all. That's the unknowns of football. But I thought, kind of the D-line got pushed around pretty good. I mean, Cole Strange just manhandled Kenny Clark at some moments. I mean, there were some moments where he just took Kenny Clark right out of the play, and he kind of ran right behind him. So that's a little bit concerning seeing our best D tackles getting pushed out of the way for a running lane. That was a little concerning to see.
And what was funny, and I told Alec this earlier, they were playing soft, okay, against a team whose top wide receiver is Nelson Aguilar, okay? Their best receiving option, you could argue, is Hunter Henry, okay? And their quarterback that played in the game was a 3rd-string quarterback last week. Last week! He comes into the game, and they're playing soft against Bailey goddamn Zappi. It was driving me crazy. They were playing so soft and so far back. And we said this earlier, and now I'm fired up again, but they can only run the ball. That is their only option. They were playing like Zappi was going to throw bombs from heaven. It was the most annoying game I've ever watched. Because I don't understand. It's Bailey Zappi, who didn't get any reps this week because they were preparing for Brian Hoyer, who, again, is not going to throw it up over the top and beat you.
How dare you slander Brian Hoyer like that? How dare you?
Brian Hoyer. Not into it, Brian Hoyer.
Now I'll allow the Brian Hoyer slander. Sorry, Dusty. That's okay. We're fine with
It
that.
was a complete sarcasm. You can slander Brian Hoyer as much as you like. He's awful. How he's still in the league and has a backup spot is just beyond me. Like I don't
Fun fact,
understand that.
he's like 1-12 in his last 13 starts. Hasn't
Yeah,
won since 2017.
Yeah, he's bad. Crazy. But are we going to talk about the offense though, and kind of like the problems we've having there too?
Well, Alec and I hit on it, but yeah, as we're wrapping up here, just dump all of your notes. Just feed us, Mama Bird.
The biggest problem I had is again we abandon the run game so fast. Like, why do we do that? Like when we force them to punt it away, we get the ball at like 25, 30. Great, that's fine field position. That's normal. And all we do is three straight passes to like nobody and just punt the ball back. It's like, what are we doing? It's like established
first half for sure.
Yeah, he was terrible. He was terrible in the first half. Like again, this is the problem of like he clearly still doesn't trust his players. Which, granted, to be fair, the guys have been dropping balls like Dobbs with that touchdown pass that was right on the money. Like that ball's got to be caught. I mean, there's no excuse for that. But at the same time, like just throw it. Like it seems like he's stalling, trying to wait for time, and he's getting sacked, which hurts everybody in the meantime. Granted, don't get me wrong. I think we talked about this over text, but Jenkins got to move back to guard. I'm sure you guys touched on that too, right?
We did not talk about that at all.
I actually have a little nugget on that. Actually, right before we started recording, I'll see if I can find the exact tweet. But essentially, offensive court. Oh, right here. Today, Packers. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. But anyway, long story short, they like Jenkins at right tackle, and for the time being, he's going to stay, which is contradictory to what LaFleur said yesterday, which was that they're looking into the idea of moving Jenkins back to left guard and putting Nyman at right tackle. But they keep preaching, we want our best 5 offensive linemen out there. Well, Nyman is your third best at this point. Yeah. He's got to be in there if this is the so-called plan, best 5 no matter what. Jenkins, run blocking, very, very good. Pass blocking, oh dear God. It doesn't look like the same guy. He was good at left tackle. I mean, and Dustin, you can analyze this better than I can, or maybe even Alec can, because you do this every day. The footwork is backwards, and I know he's coming off an ACL injury, so maybe he's just not quite there with his quickness yet. But Nyman's got to be out there. He's your third best lineman, and right now he's sitting on your bench. And you can have you'd have the best left side of the line in football between Bakhtiari, who looks awesome. Finally, it only took 2 years. Jenkins and Myers, that's your left side. Oh my gosh, that's really darn good.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it's just, in my opinion, I feel that Jenkins is just not built to be a guard, or not built to be a tackle. He's not as long. He's not as fast. He has quickness. He has strength. I think that his ACL recovery is probably taking a little bit of that quickness away, and that's what's really hurting him out at tackle. You got to understand they're very two different positions, right? Being on the inside, you have 3 yards to your right and 3 yards to your left at maximum that you have to be able to block, right? So you have a total of 6 yards. When you're playing tackle, you have 3 yards maximum to your left, and then to the right, nobody's there. You know what I mean? So you could have a very quick defensive end that's coming around the right side, lining up 6 yards outside of your shoulder, and then coming out guns blazing, and you've got to somehow get back there. It's just not what Jenkins is made for. It's just not. He's a bigger guy. He's a stronger guy. He's meant to be in the middle. That's where he's supposed to be. Dustin, what say you?
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like playing tackle is probably, you have to be one of the most athletic people in the field. I mean, like, you got to think about what's coming at you, because really, DNs have it all. Like, they have the speed, they have the strength, they have the athleticism, do whatever they want. So you got to be ready for everything, because like when they're coming at you, they're coming at you full speed. You don't know what they're going to do, because really they put you on an island is really what you're doing. So it's you against him, and they're coming at you full speed. You're kind of backpedaling. So really, like, you don't know what they're going to do. So like, I get it. It's hard. And obviously, like, I play the same position, so I know how difficult it is to like really perfect that. But like coming off an ACL injury and really this not being his position, like his starting spot, it's difficult because you're asking him to learn a completely new position, completely different techniques, completely different everything, and you're expecting him to take on some of the best athletes in the world.
Coming
really,
off an
it's
ACL injury.
coming off an
It's
ACL injury. So like, I don't know what they're thinking. Where they're like, yeah, this is the best spot for him. Put your best players in the best spot for them. Like he's a guard. Put him at guard. Just stick him there and leave it, and then put Nyman there. Nyman's a tackle. Put Nyman at tackle. Like it's to me, like I don't know why they're trying to resist this. Just do it. Like again, like you guys said, if they're really trying to play their best 11, they would switch that up. Like it's really simple. Because honestly, apparently he got his ass kicked on Sunday. He got his ass kicked.
Judon kicked his butt. For me, coming off an injury, just get him comfortable. It's been 4 games. He looked. I mean, let's be honest. We're very spoiled. We have 3 really good offensive linemen. Like the fact that we're even having this conversation, a lot of teams would kill for at least one of these guys. We got 3 of them. That's pretty awesome. But just get him comfortable. Just let him get back in the flow. Let his knee totally heal up, which I'm assuming it is. That's why he's playing. I get it. I get the thought process. And maybe next year, if that is the plan, okay, give him all summer with a healthy knee. Work through all that stuff. Obviously, he's got reps in. He kind of knows what he's doing. Just for this team, if you're really going to try and go all out and make it to the Super Bowl, honestly, at this point, I'm done with Royce Newman. He was fine. But I just want to see Zach Tom out there because I think he's better than Royce Newman. I think the team ceiling is better with Zach Tom. I'm all choked up about it. Sorry, I'm very emotional about this.
Yeah, you don't got to cry about it.
Oh, God, sorry.
Problematic.
But I just think that, honestly, bottom line is we're spoiled. We got a lot of good offensive linemen, and we're just trying to figure out how to get them all fit together. Pretty darn cool, man. I tell you what, man, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and like I mean, Green Bay does a great job of their coaching because honestly, like every time I watch, like I want to watch new techniques for offense linemen. Honestly, it comes from Green Bay coaches. Like there's a lot they teach because everyone in the NFL actually takes their offensive line techniques from Green Bay. That's actually the truth. Like Green Bay knows how to develop offense linemen. They know kind of like how the techniques are supposed to look and like different like. Unique techniques that you wouldn't use that work really well. And like it all comes from Green Bay, honestly. It really does. They have a good system. They have a good chemistry with their alignment. It just works.
We built this city.
The offensive line city, that is.
It is.
All right. We're over an hour, so we will wrap up here. Any final thoughts or comments before we wrap here tonight, gentlemen?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to the old Antonio Brown. I'd love to have that man back, but it seems as though that man is long gone. My goodness, guys, if you haven't seen the video online, you don't have to feel like you need to go watch it.
Problematic.
Just know that Antonio Brown is 100% done now. I mean, that whole carnival is over.
Oh, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
I saw 20 seconds of it. I turned it off. It's a hard watch.
Yes.
Let's end on a.
They're coming in through the back door!
Well, that's scary. I was just trying to play a fun sound.
Should we do game ball? Should we do game ball of the week? Quick, talk about.
We should. That's a good point. Let's do game ball. I know we kicked this idea around. Just very quickly, I will give. Actually, no, I don't know who I'm giving it to you. Alec, game ball.
Game ball of the week. Thanks for putting me on the spot because I know who I'm going to pick, and I'm coming up with it now. I'm going to go with Rashawn Gary.
Yep. Good pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to give
2
my
sacks this week.
Yeah, I think 2. Yeah, I'm gonna give my game ball to Randall Cobb.
Really?
Yeah, I thought again when we need a big play on 3rd down, he is always our man. So I'm gonna give it to Randall Cobb. He's he's got some wheels to burn.
He's got a little juice left. I kind of liked what I saw. I mean, he's not going to bust an 80-yarder, but there's a little juice there. You know who I'm going to give my game ball to? I am going to give my game ball to Mr. Pat O'Donnell. Let's face it. The fact that they were able to – he was, first of all, against Tampa, Special Teams Player of the Week. Shout out to Pat O'Donnell. But this game really came down to, especially at the very end, punt it deep, make Zappy go the length of the field. Zappy was not equipped and is not equipped to go the length of the field. At least at this point. I don't know if he's anything, but field position was a huge part of this game. So my game ball goes to, I'm going to say it, the punter, because he deserves it. And with that is going to end today's show. Tomorrow, fun stuff happening. Lockdown Gambling Show is back. Sean is on vacation, so he will not be joining us, but Dustin, Jody, Chris, myself, we're all going to be on the Lockdown Corner Gambling Show. And may I just quickly brag? So there was a push in the Buffalo-Baltimore game last week, but I would just like to say I tallied it up 4-0-1 last week for your boy, so I am red hot. Also red hot, Chris Brault, lock of the week. He's now 0-4. So that's a sure thing. Just
Problematic.
Oh, I can play that sounder for sure. Yeah, he's 0-4 in his locks. He also said he's giving his game ball to Bobby Boucher. Just a Waterboy joke to end it. Also, he says because we're children, go to bed because he's 0-4 in his locks. He's telling us to eat a phallic thing. But anyway, Lockdown Gambling Show, you can catch that tomorrow, 6:30. We will take you up to kickoff. So that'll be fun. So make sure you hang out for that. We'll win you some money. And as far as we go, make sure you follow all of us individually on socials and follow the Lockdown Corner on all the socials. YouTube is where it's happening. Make sure Facebook, a lot of stuff there. Instagram, we're now on that. Lockdown Corner Pod. Alec has taken over the Twitter account, as we've said numerous times before, at Lockdown or at Corner Lockdown on Twitter. Make sure you take a look at that as well. And this week should be fun. We didn't really talk about much about the game, but that is London, Governor. And honestly, we can't really talk about it because we don't know if they're even going to have a quarterback for this game. So it sounds like Daniel Jones will play. But anyway, fun game coming up in London. That was terrible. That sounded Australian. Anyway, London game this week. Enjoy. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your early wake-up call and all the Bloody Marys. Let them flow. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.